Let's talk about one of the most, uncomfortable human feelings: embarrassment. We all know it, we all try to avoid it. But what if that cringy feeling isn't something to run from? What if it's actually something to run towards? Today, we're going to flip the script on embarrassment and see how it can become your single greatest tool for growth.
This quote from a climbing coach just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? I mean, think about that. For climbers, people who are literally pushing their physical limits, the biggest thing holding them back isn't the fear of falling, it's the fear of looking stupid while they do it. It's the fear of being seen as clumsy or weak. And you know what? That fear is definitely not unique to climbing.
I think we've all been there, right? You're at the gym and you head to the emptiest corner to try a new exercise. Or maybe you're practicing a new language, but you're kind of whispering, hoping no one hears your accent. We do this automatically. We try to hide the process of learning because learning is messy. And we've all been taught that being messy in public is, embarrassing. And that brings us right to the heart of the problem, the fear of being seen. It's this really deep instinctual need to protect our self-image. We want the world to see us as competent, as someone who has it all together. But here's the catch. Real growth, real learning, it only happens in those moments when we are not competent and we absolutely do not have it all together.
So let's get specific. How does this fear actually stop us? Well, it builds these invisible cages around us, around our potential. It dictates what we're willing to try, the risks we're willing to take, and it cuts us off from the very things we need to improve. Let's look at a few examples of what I mean.
Okay, so take an aspiring writer. The fear of embarrassment makes them hoard their early drafts. But those messy first drafts are where the gold is. Getting feedback on them is absolutely critical. But they cringe at the idea of someone else seeing their bad writing, so they never get the feedback that could turn it into great writing. And the result? So often, they just stop.
And here's a really ironic one. The moment we need help the most is when we're struggling, right? But admitting that struggle, showing someone the messy, confusing parts of our journey, that feels deeply embarrassing. So we don't get a coach. We don't find a mentor. We don't even open up to a friend. We build up a wall to protect our pride, and we end up trapped and struggling, all alone. And this isn't just for personal goals. This happens at the highest levels. Think about a business leader. They've got massive blind spots they just can't see because, they're their blind spots. Getting an outside perspective is the only way to break through, but that means being vulnerable. It means admitting you don't have all the answers. And because that feels so exposing, they avoid it, and the business just gets stuck. So, you're probably seeing the pattern here. In pretty much every part of life, this fear can hold us back. But what if we've been looking at this whole thing completely backwards? This brings us to a pretty radical reframe. What if embarrassment isn't the obstacle we need to avoid? What if it's the actual path forward?
This slide lays out the shift perfectly. The old mindset? Avoid embarrassment. Practice in secret until you're perfect and only then show people. But the new mindset, it turns that completely on its head. It says you should see that feeling of embarrassment as a flashing green light, a signal that you're right at the edge of your comfort zone. And that's exactly where growth happens. You have to be willing to be bad at something, long before you can ever be good at it.
Let's just sit with that for a second. It has to be embarrassing. Now, why is that? Because real growth isn't just about adding a new skill, like putting a new app on your phone. It's about fundamentally pushing beyond the boundaries of who you think you are. And that process is, by its very nature, awkward and unfamiliar. So here's the deal. Real growth means you have to let go of that carefully crafted self-image. You know, the one of the person who's got it all figured out. You have to be willing to step into a version of yourself that's still learning, still stumbling, and letting go of that perfect image in front of other people. Yep, it's embarrassing. And that's not just okay, it's essential. All right, so we get the idea. We're on board with the reframe. But how do we actually do this in real life? The trick is to start working with the fear instead of constantly running from it. So here's a simple 5-step guide you can use. First, just recognize it. When that feeling pops up, just name it. Oh, okay, this is fear. Second, notice what it's doing. See the invisible cage it's building. Third, question it. What's on the other side of this feeling that you really want? Number 4, and this is the big one, try something different. Go ahead and do it badly on purpose. Get messy. Ask for feedback. And finally, number 5, just be with the fear. Don't fight it. Let it ride shotgun. It's a companion on your journey, not an enemy you have to defeat.
When you actually start to practice this, something really incredible begins to happen. You stop fighting with yourself and you start leaning into the unknown. And that is where the true transformation begins. It's not just about getting better at something, it's about changing your entire relationship with yourself. This is the real prize. As you learn to sit with that hot feeling of embarrassment without immediately trying to escape it, you start to shed that old, rigid version of yourself, that constant need to be perfect, to look good, to have it all together. It just starts to fall away. You become lighter, more flexible, and way more authentic. I just love how this is phrased. You're not just learning a new skill, you are growing into a new kind of becoming. It's a total shift from being a fixed thing to being a fluid process, where growth is constant, and embarrassment is just the feeling of your world getting bigger.
So, I want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Seriously, think about it. That thing you've been putting off, that class you want to take, that idea you haven't shared. What would be possible if you decided to let that feeling of embarrassment lead the way? What could you become if it was your guide and not your cage?